Hi, Morgan from Halfords. Question for Steve. The digital passport for a tyre, is there an opportunity to not only understand the provenance of a tyre, but the life of a tyre according the sort of who sold it, who disposed of it, who possibly resold it, and therefore offers an opportunity to regulate and monitor the part market a bit better?
It's a really good question. I think the reality is at the moment, as far as the digital passport is concerned, I think the jury's out regarding how the RFID will work as part of this eco-design regulation. Clearly, RFID tags have been around for quite some time. We actually put RFID tags in, for instance, truck tyres. We've been doing that for quite some time. The information in there is quite basic. Of course, at the moment, it tells you the serial number of the tyre, the type of tyre it is. You're quite right. There's a huge opportunity there to probably expand what you read off the RFID tag moving forward. And I think, as far as this digital passport part of the actual regulation is concerned, I think there needs to be a higher level of sophistication than what's actually on there. So, it's a good point, definitely.
Hello. Thank you for that, Alfred. It's actually the same question I was going to actually ask. But just leading on to that, with the RFID, it's generally not writable, but the problem, or correct me with my knowledge on this, it's very expensive to take that data, to put it into a database that's then of use, because it's just an electronic serial number. But have you got any guidance on that? Because a lot of people know what RFID is, but actually don't know some of the implications to get that information to somewhere useful.
I mean, that's a very good point. As I say, we've been putting RFID tags in tyres now for quite some time. It isn't utilised the way it should be currently. I mean, certainly even in the retreading side you discussed earlier. It should be used and utilised more effectively and efficiently in the whole of the tyre management process. But the IT infrastructure, I think, isn't there yet when it comes to that. It's a bit hit and miss, of course, because not every tyre has RFID in it at the moment. And that's really the reason why I mentioned it earlier, that maybe this eco-design regulation will actually force the issue, and I would almost say make it a default in tyres moving forward. But because you've got this situation at the moment where one tyre might have an RFID tag in it and another won't, then when it comes, for instance, when it comes to the warehousing side of things, you can't automate your warehousing accordingly, because some tyres you receive have them, some tyres you receive don't have them. So it's a tricky situation at the moment with that. But I think we're in the dawn of a new era when it comes to that sort of stuff, and I think there is a massive opportunity, definitely.
Can I just add something to that? I
of
think that the standards are not there yet in terms of RFID tags being in every tyre, as Steve referenced there, but this is not beyond the wit of a person to get this up and running and then to use the data. It's very easy to capture the data and collect the data, so I think there's just got to be the motivation and awareness to do that, and what benefits that can bring.
Hi, I'm Darren from Highbridge Talent. I work in recruitment in the industry, so I should be the most popular person in the room, but I'm probably not. I want to know how we can improve the relationship between internal recruiters who work inside the organisations, external recruiters like myself, and also the trade association, so we encourage to sort of support each other, because I know I've been lucky enough to work with a few of the companies in this business and had some success, but often we're seen as a competitor of the internal recruitment team, so it's how we can sort of build a kind of a relationship so we can all support each other.
I think in terms of some of the working groups that Ian and the NTDA have started to put together, I think I would join that party and join that movement, because I think having that focused discussion around how we can improve apprenticeships, academies, bring new blood into the industry, I think having that focused work group is going to help us, so that's where we all need to come together.
I mean, I don't know if you have the same situation with you, Trevor, because, I mean, what frustrates the heck out of me is the fact that, at the moment, because resource is so tight, I mean, it's been going on for years and years and years, but you see, for instance, tyre technicians, they move from one company to the other company because they'll pay another, X amount of money more. That has got to stop. That has really got to stop. That is really short-term thinking. And we invest through our Tyre Academy in trying to, continue to train potential people within the industry to get them up to the right standards. We do our best to do that. But I deliver courses at our training academy, and what really frustrates me at times is that we may get a Tyre technician that we're trying to put through some training, and he's kind of saying, "Oh, I really need to leave because I'm bonused on how many jobs I do, and if I can actually leave early, I can go and do a job and get a little bit more money." That's just actually you're in a really difficult situation as far as mindset is concerned with that person you're trying to train. And I think, again, that's one of the challenges we have within the industry, just trying to get the right investment into the person. And as mentioned before, earlier on today, and you've mentioned as well regarding, making a proper career. At the moment, that's just, not happening.
I would latch on to that and say I think some of the difficulties experienced, at least in the past, is the commercial models don't really line up. So like say in our sector, it's a career path, really. The training takes a long time. Any of the training steps are a job. So your HGV, that's a job. Your crane operator, that's a job. Your tyre technician, that's a job. At any stage, you need a composite role for that in an OTR tyre technician. By the time you've learned any of those, you can go and have a career anywhere you like. So what we end up facing is a commercial model there that's often incongruent with what the internal one's trying to do. Now, of course, it's incumbent on a business to try and retain its own staff. You've got to be an attractive employer, you've got to keep all of that. But it has often been the case in our history that the main aim of recruitment is to funnel people in and out of jobs. So as much as they funnel into you, they're also offering positions out of you as well. So what you end up doing is becoming free training to the industry and you go out of business. And that's a real problem, I think. So if we're going to sort of solve the problem of the external-internal congruence, it's solving those pain points. Because I don't think the commercial models always line up. Now, you can solve that with good trust-built relationships. You can build well and do well and behave well with one another. But there's only so many times you can lean on that. You're going to get bit as much as you're going to succeed with that model. So I think there's always that push and pull. I don't know how that's solved, especially in an industry that's so highly contested at the minute. We're desperate for people to come in, and everyone that funnels out is paying. It takes a long time to train an OTR Tyre Tech, and there's no school, there's no college, there's nothing. So when we take one on, it's 12 months at least before they can be ready to go sometimes, depending on what's going on or whether they pass tests or not. That's a real constraint there. And if someone is also actively trying to funnel new in and get new out, because that's where the commercial model goes, I think that's where the friction happens. I don't know. I'm talking general in business here, not so much about the OTR sector. But I mean, almost anyone in the room could have an opinion on that. I don't really feel qualified as a panelist to talk.
Thank you. Stephen Callow, MAC Limited. It's a question with regard to the environmental aspect and what have you. And I feel like there's a bit of an elephant in the room there in the form of China. As a historical retreader, one of my concerns was so many years ago the aromatic oils regulations were brought in for the carcinogen aspects of it. We were retreading tyres, and you could smell that certain manufacturers from China, in my opinion, certainly weren't complying with those rules and regulations. So European regulations coming through, how is it going to be policed? And does it just put another big burden on Western manufacturers, let's say, or non-China ones, making us uncompetitive? The last point with all that is a lot of people tend to forget China is a communist country and they are massively subsidised, and therefore the retreading industry has suffered massively from competing with something that's on a level playing field. But back to the environmental one.
No, it's a really valid question. One thing we're really weak on is this enforcement side of things. When the tyre labelling regulations came in, the enforcement of that has been pretty weak. It started with the NMO. They were the enforcement body, the National Measurements Office. It moved over to the DVSA. The DVSA has it's taken a sample of tyres in the last 2 or 3 years and tested those, but it's a tip of the iceberg. As an example of one of the piece of regulations that's poorly enforced, you're absolutely right. With all these regulations, unless you have have the backing of the government to enforce it properly, then it's weak. It's inherently weak. Absolutely, yeah.
Don't you think the tyre market, though, is going to be problematic with that too? Especially we were talking earlier on with cheap tyres, because price is a big deal, and the price of a tyre, especially in a set of 4 for cars. But how many people are actually buying their tyres, figuring out whether they're good for you, or rather, are they bad for you? They're cheap, sure, but over a period of 50 years, they're just going to hurt us. And that's a real problem. As my colleagues will know, I only had 20 minutes, and I'm good at time management. I can often turn 20 into an hour. I didn't even touch the environment, but product selection is huge on that. And I know there's a talk later on that's going to be huge on that. I think product selection, when you're in a market of increasing performance requirements and increasing price per unit, all of a sudden, if you said to someone, well, buying these cheaper tyres, though, is actually really bad for us all. Not just the CO2, but any other impact it might have, residue on the road, getting in the water supply, anything you like. I don't know if will that come about because people really care, or will it come about when the legislation says you can't sell products at a half? I don't know which order that's going to come in. This is true in OTR as much as anything else. If you're buying on price alone, are you worried about where the runoff of the tyre is going? Does it hit water? I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon.
I mean, as I said, there is obviously a lot of noise regarding the environmental side of things. We're all working very hard to understand, the impact of tyres. I think in reality, we've been under the radar a little bit when it comes to this issue, but we're frantically trying to understand, what the true environmental impact of tyres is at the moment. Absolutely.
I think it will raise its head as well, and I think there's a topic later on, emissions, that will be, that'll be insightful, I think, on this topic.